Oh, hey, welcome back to the desk build. Today we're going to be working on the top part of it, so let's go get started. Hey guys, welcome back to Squirrel's Woodshop. This is Danny, and today we're going to be working on the second part of this here desk, and it's going to be the actual desk part. Now, the first part was the top, and the third part is going to be the leg, so this is going to be the drawers and the actual desk itself. We're going to start off by making the back. We've already ran one side to the joiner, now we're just finishing up making our total width over here on the table saw. We then went ahead and cut our sides. And since we're not going to be using any store-bought slides, we had to make our own runners. So that's what we're doing here. We're making our runners for each of our sides and for our middle piece. We're going to have 2 drawers in this desk. So, if my math is mathing, that's going to be about 4 runners. We got them all cut and it was time to put them on. I did make these nice little blocks, so all I got to do is set them on top of the blocks, and they should be consistent on every single one. Now we're going to hold this on with some Type Bond 3, and we're also going to put a few little nails in there just to hold it in place till the glue dries. That wasn't so bad. Now 3 more to go. But on the middle one, we got to do a little work to it before we can add our glue to it and slap it to the top. So we got to make room for our supports. Now we're going to have one on the back side and one on the front side. So we got to make room for that to set flush. That way it's not sticking out the bottom and you can't see it. So what I'm doing here is I've placed a mark on the height of the board that's going to rest on top of it. And I'm slowly making my way up to it by raising the blade up just a little bit. And now I'm just going to take it and take out all the material from where that line was all the way to the end. And we'll say that was the front side, so now we got to flip it over and do the back side of it. Now I'm not so worried about my height on this one because I already set it with the first one, but I am worried about how far I need to go over. So I'm going to be careful with that first cut, and then after that we can just remove all that's left. So now that we got our sides and our middle the way we want them, let's throw some glue to this thing and start putting it together. We're going to start on one side, and then we're going to work our way around. Now, if you're wondering where we got our tabletop from, well, I guess you missed episode 1. Go make sure you check it out. But we've got this thing upside down, and that's the way we're going to put it together. We've also got it resting on 2x4s. Now, what that's going to do is let us put our clamps underneath it. That way we got a good place to clamp to, and the table's not in the way. Now we're fixing to move the back piece in place, but we're not going to glue it. We're just going to make sure that it's going to fit and it's right where we need it to be, and it's in position for that side where it's going to be nice and squared to everything else. So it's the next day and our glue is set up now. Next we're going to go ahead and put on our back. Now we're going to be using a couple different style clamps here. The main ones on the back that are stretched the whole length are going to be pipe clamps. We're going to use a couple of those just to make sure that we get a good nice squeeze of glue on our sides and our back. And then we're going to be using some small bar clamps. Now what these are going to do, they got 2 purposes. The first one is to make sure that we don't overhang on the back. So we want to make sure that our back and our top are nice and flush with each other. So we're going to go through there and make sure that's happening with those. And it's also going to connect our back to our top. Look at it. Look at it. Touchdown. Touchdown. just in case you were wondering. The Patriots just scored on the Texans. Anyways, now we're going to put on our middle section. Now this is going to be really critical in making sure we get the measurements just right because we don't want different size drawers. We want to be able to make the same drawer twice and it can go in either side. We're just going to add a little glue to it and then we're going to add some clamps and clamp it down. So we now got our bottom supports we're going to work on. We're marking our dowel rods right here, and we're going to do the front and the back the exact same way. So we got out our dowel making jig, and well, we started making holes for our dowels. Pretty simple. All you got to do is take the center of one of those holes on the line that you just made, and you're good to go. Make sure you double check, make sure your dowels are going to fit though. Now, if you're ever curious how it's like in Squirrel's Woodshop, well, this is just a little tidbit of it. There's a lot of thinking, a lot of scratching your heads, and a lot of this number. Alright, now we're ready to cut the first hole after all that. And to be honest, the only thing we talked about was whether we needed to drill the hole all the way through or not. We ended up going ahead and drilling it all the way through, but that leads us to another point. You need to make sure you have a block underneath it. That way it don't have a lot of chip out whenever you go through. It's also worth mentioning that we are cutting these at a slight angle because the legs are going to have an outward face on them. So this is not exactly 0, it's more like a 3, 5-ish, 7, something in between there. So the next thing we came across was the drill is not deep enough for us to go from the back to the front. That would be way too easy. So instead we had to undo everything and flip it around. That way we could cut the same angle on the front side, opposite side of the one we just cut. Then we'll have to take all this apart and move the table from the 3, 5, 7-ish angle that it's at right now to the opposite 3 to 5, 7 degrees that it needs to be so we can cut the other legs. Phew! If you followed all that, congratulations. I was confusing myself just trying to explain what I'd already did. So we got all the holes for the legs cut. Now we need to start on our actual drawers. We ran into a little bit of an issue with our wood. Well, lack of wood. So you ran out of hard maple. Luckily, we had some soft maple laying around. And since they're going to be for drawers, I think it'll be just perfect. It'll add that little touch of surprise, you know. But then again, there's that chance that you'll probably never even notice it. Now I'm just going to show you what we did to the sides, but just know that we done the exact same thing to the back. We cut everything down to length on the miter saw, then we brought them up here to the planer and we planed it down to the thickness that we wanted. Then we took it to the joiner. We got one clean edge and then we took it all the way over to the table saw. Now this is going to finish up our dimensioning on our sides and our back. Now we're going to take them and run them through the table saw one more time, but this time we're going to go real shallow pass. And that's going to make us a nice groove for our bottom to slide into. So we're going to set up our table saw using this feather board. That's going to do a couple things for us. The first thing, it's going to keep my hands away from any blade that I don't see. And second, it's going to create pressure on the board consistently. So all the boards should be the same and the depth of the groove should be the same. So we got all those cut. Then we grabbed the biggest bit we had. And we're going to use it to make the groove for our runners to set on. and slide on. Now, have you ever made a mistake while you're woodworking? Not a mistake like cut your finger off or anything, but I'm talking like maybe cut the board too short or maybe make it too long and one side's sticking out. Well, how about cut your groove on the wrong side? Now, if you've been paying attention and you've already noticed it, well, that's an A+ for you. But if you hadn't, I'll fill you in. See, the groove that we cut for our bottom to slide into is going to be on the inside of our drawer. Well, the one that we just cut for our slides to set on, well, they're supposed to be on the other side. And they're not. So we're going to attempt our best ball Ross and try to make this a happy mistake. Or happy accident, whatever he says. So we got all those cut, and I bet you can guess what we did next. We went right back to the table saw and fixed our mistake. We put the bottom groove on the proper side. And that brings us to our first look at our drawer fronts. I marked them with tape, that way I know which way they're supposed to go. That way the grain is all flowing, it all matches up. And it should look like one long continuous board, minus, the cut in the middle. Anyways, we're going to make a bunch of cuts and essentially create a dado. That way we can put our sides into the back of the fronts. Does that make sense? And we're going to put the sides in the back of the fronts. Yeah, that's right. Here, let me just show you what I'm talking about. See? Sides in the back of the front. Just like that. So now we got to put our bottom groove in. We couldn't do it on the table saw because it would leave the lines or the groove on the outsides of our drawer fronts, and we didn't want that. So now that we got our spacing for our dados, we can go ahead and do it on the router table. We just started in the void for the first dado and ran it all the way down to the opening for the second dado, and then we stopped. Just like that. Easy peasy. Or at least it was to the second one. And then we broke a bit. But if you think that's going to stop us, you're crazy. Because we had an extra one. And if we break this one, we're done. I mean, that's it. But luckily we didn't. We went ahead and finished it up. And everything worked out good. The bottom slid in just right. But now it was time to fix our mess up. And to do that, well, we're going to need some wood. So let's go to the scrap pile here. Pick us out some good old walnut. Just grab you a handful and, well, now we're going to trim it down to size. Now, if you've never used one of these micro guide slide thingamabobsies, they are nice when you're having to rip down thin material. And this worked perfect because every time it was going to be a consistent cut. All you got to do is set it up to the depth you need and then move your fence until your material is touching the roller again. And now you're set up to do the exact same cut you just did. It's very repetitive, very simple, and easy to use. Now you see how it works. Now let's see how it fits. Let's take it over to where they're going to go and see what they look like. Just slide them in place. And now you've got a beautiful accent piece. That was definitely not a mess up. Next thing we need to do is cut our bottoms out. Now I didn't have any material for the bottoms, but luckily my neighbor, Mr. Cole, had a piece that he was not going to use. He didn't like the way them stripes were in it, and for what he was making, it needed to be a perfect sheet. So, lucky for us, we got it. And I didn't have to go get it. Even better. So we're going to break this down. We had to first move the saw around because, well, it was cold outside. And, well, I didn't want to open the door. So we went ahead and moved the table saw around and got it to where we can do it on the inside. That'll be so much better. We got all them cut up, then we moved back to our inlays. You know, our fancy inlays, because we're fancy, not because we messed up. We're fancy. That's what we're gonna call it. We just shoved those in there, put a little glue in, shoved them in, and then we cut off the extra. Now the inlays we just put in are just a little bit proud, and that's going to let us go back and put a clamp on them, make sure everything's nice and seated properly, and all that glue squirts out the ends. We're just going to take this little C-clamp and move our way down from one end all the way down to the other end, just putting a little pressure on it, making sure that it's going to stay there and not pop back out. We got those looking real good. Now we got one big problem. We got a void we're going to have to take care of. See where our sides are going to meet in to our fronts that we just put those inlays in? Well, at the bottom of it, there's going to be a gap. So we got to fix those with, you guessed it, some more fancy inlays. All we have to do it is cut up our width on the table saw, take it over here to where the inlay is going to go. Make sure it's going to fit properly. Get a measurement for our height. That's looking real nice. Little marky mark with a pencil there. And then back over to the table saw and cut it off. But first we're going to need our crosscut sled. So let's grab it, slide it in place. Now we're ready to cut it off. Now, don't that look nice? One might call it fancy. Okay, I'm through saying fancy now. But this is what we're going to do with the back side. We're just going to make a nice little pocket for that side to sit in there. That's going to help it be a little bit more rigid and have a little bit more to glue to. We got all those cut. Now we're just going to slap it together temporarily with some tape. And we're going to check our clearances in our drawers. Because nobody gonna like some tight, uncomfortable drawers, and nobody wants them real loose and sloppy. We're looking for that baby bear fit, just right. We also made sure our door front was gonna fit properly. And I believe she's gonna work. With everything fitting the way it was supposed to, all we got to do now is stick her together with some glue this time. So we got both the drawers put together. Then it was time to do a little test fit. Slid the first one in. So far, so good. Then we're going to grab the second one, and hopefully it slides in just like the first one did. And just like that, they fit. But they might be a little off. So to fix that, we're going to wait until we install the legs. And then we're going to put it in place, and then we're going to adjust it with some shims on the runners. That's going to close that gap up real nice where the top and the drawer actually meet. And it's also going to make it to where the drawer slides in the same spot every time and makes a nice uniform gap all the way around and in between the two drawers. But that'll be in the next video where we do the legs, and you're in for a treat on the legs because we were going way back deep in Squirrel's head on this one. We're going to combine a lathe with a router. We'll see how that goes. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and God bless you.